Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Today we're going to be going over a very powerful set of weapons. These are the Grenade Machineguns. And this is actually our very last explosive weapon that we need to talk about, at least explosive projectile weapon. There's still a few placed and thrown explosives that we're going to need to talk about. But the Grenade Machinegun and its unique version, Mercy, are two very, very powerful weapons and very unique weapons to the Wasteland, since they are one of the few full auto explosive weapons in the game. There's not a whole lot of those. There's like this one, the APW, and I guess the Red Glare, and I think that's about it. So the Grenade Machinegun is a very rare weapon. You're probably going to have to buy this. There are a couple places you can buy this, though. You can buy it from sometimes the Brotherhood, you can buy it from the Boomers, and you can buy it from the Gunrunners. Boomers are about the only people that I think actually carry around the Grenade Machinegun, which I wish there was a couple more that actually carried it around, like the Brotherhood or sometimes the Marked Men. But I don't think I've seen the Grenade Machinegun on anybody besides the Boomers, and I think that's just Raquel that actually has the Grenade Machinegun that I've seen on them. So the Grenade Machinegun requires 100 explosives to wield and 8 strength. Very high explosives, very high strength requirement, as you kind of expect from a weapon like this. It is a gigantic weapon that you're going to be holding, so it's also a very devastating weapon that you can be holding. The Grenade Machinegun is a little bit unique too, in that if you hit something directly, you don't actually do any direct impact damage. This has a big old 0 for direct impact damage, but it does do 50 explosive damage on hit, which is fairly good for a weapon like this, especially with how fast it can shoot. This one has 150 damage per second, which is also quite fast. That's not considering splash damage from the explosions too, hitting multiple enemies. This has a big old 0 for crits, as you would kind of expect for a lot of explosive weapons. Weirdly enough, a very low crit modifier, and not just a 0, it's a 0.28 times crit modifier, at least that's what the wiki says. So very low chance of hitting crits, but that doesn't matter when you can't do any crit damage. This costs 50 action points to be using in VATS, so it's really not that great for a VATS build. Most explosive weapons really aren't. This one isn't terrible, because even though it does take a lot of action points to use, it uses the 25mm grenade, which is less likely to blow yourself up with. So that's kind of nice, but still I wouldn't really recommend using VATS with it. This has a big old 1 for spread, which is fine for an explosive weapon. You don't need to be super accurate. The regular Grenade Machinegun holds 30 rounds in it, which is fairly high. The Grenade Machinegun weighs 15 weight, which is actually not super heavy. You can cut this in half with heavy weight and go down to 7.5 weight, and that's not that bad. At that point, ammo might actually weigh you down more, at least if you're playing on the hardcore difficulty. And the Grenade Machinegun has 200 item health, which is decent enough. Explosive weapons don't go through it usually that fast. This one might, because it is full auto, so you can actually spam it out fairly quick. For the pros of the Grenade Machinegun, this one does high damage per second. It also has great crowd control because of how often you can just spam these into crowds. You'll destroy crowds with basically anything with the Grenade Machineguns, really. It also has great ammo, both the regular Grenade Machinegun and Mercy. They don't actually share ammos. The Grenade Machinegun is one of only 2 weapons that uses the 25mm grenade. It's just this and the APW, which is also a fantastic weapon. Mercy, on the other hand, uses the 40mm grenade, which is shared by more explosives, because that's the same as like the grenade launcher and the grenade rifles, which are also very good weapons. For the cons of these, they can be heavy, even more so with ammo if you're playing on the hardcore difficulty, so you might want to invest in perks that kind of help out with that. These are extremely rare. Mercy is probably the most difficult weapon to get in the entire game because of where it's at, and this does come with all the downsides of an explosive weapon, where you can hurt yourself with it, you can break your limbs pretty easily with it. Not as much as other weapons, like the Fat Man or potentially the missile launcher. They are a lot more dangerous than a weapon like this, but this weapon still can be dangerous if you don't be careful with it. There is also quite a few perks that can help out with these weapons. First one is heavyweight. You can cut their weight in half. Take them from 15 weight to 7.5 weight. That's pretty nice. Pack Rat is also really good if you're playing on the hardcore difficulty, since this will affect both the 40mm and the 25mm grenades, so you can just carry around more of them. Splash damage can be good. It can also be bad, since it gives you a bigger explosion radius. You have Demo Expert to give you even more damage on top of these, which is fantastic. And then you could also have something like Hit the Deck, which can be useful just so that you don't hurt yourself as much if enemies do get in close with these explosive weapons. Let's also go over the ammos that at least the Grenade Machinegun can use. Since it uses the 25mm grenade, that one's probably going to be the one that you're using the most often, and this has a regular explosion radius, which is fairly big. Can do pretty good damage per second. We also got pulse grenades. These ones nerf your damage substantially, but they do extra damage towards robots. This can be really good if you want to take this to Old World Blues, or you want to go to the few places that there are robots. You can have the timed explosives, which always felt kind of awkward to me, where this has a 5-second fuse on it. So once you shoot this out, then it will go off after 5 seconds. that can be okay, but most of the time I don't find the timed ones to be super useful. Plasma grenades, which make it so you do more damage, but they have a smaller explosion radius. And then you also got the high explosive grenades, which would generally be the best ones to go with since they give you a bigger explosion radius and more damage. But sometimes these can be kind of hard to buy in bulk from certain vendors. It's actually not too difficult to buy a whole lot of 25mm grenades though. The gun runners tend to sell a lot of them, other merchants sell a lot of them. You can also just talk to various merchants that are wandering around the wasteland since it's a gun runner's arsenal ammo type, or at least the high explosives can be and like the plasma can be, where you can buy a decent bulk of these from those NPCs, which can be really useful too. For an overall rating for the Grenade Machine Gun, I'm going to put this one very high up into A tier. The only reason I'm not putting it into S tier is just because there is a modified version of it that's even better. That's about it. But if you wanted to argue the regular Grenade Machine Gun up to S tier, I wouldn't be too surprised at that. It's a really good weapon. For the modified version, there is only one mod that goes on to the Grenade Machine Gun, which gives it a faster rate of fire. This is by 50%, so you can spit out explosives even faster and deal damage even quicker and have even more DPS than you already had. So this one is just a straight upgrade to the regular Grenade Machine Gun. I love this one. It is very fun to use, and this one is just going to go right up into S tier. It's just really, really good. The regular Grenade Machine Gun is already quite solid, and this one's even better. Both the 25mm weapons that we get, the APW and the Grenade Machine Gun, are really good. Usually I'll go with the APW just because it's easier to buy and buy all the upgrades for it since so many vendors have it, and you can get it so early on that I don't usually go with the Grenade Machine Gun, but when I do, I'm never really disappointed with it. Now, the unique version is called Mercy, and like I said, Mercy is a 40mm grenade, as well as it is the most difficult weapon to get in the entire game. That's because it is found in Dead Wind Cavern, which is where there is the most amount of Deathclaws in the entire game, besides like that little island out there, the Deathclaw Sanctuary out there. That's the only place where there's more Deathclaws. Maybe there's some parts in the Divide too, but none of these are actually inside of an area. So this is inside of a cave, which makes Deathclaws even more dangerous than they already were because you have a lot of things that are blocking your lines of sight. But there's also the legendary Deathclaw in here too, which is even stronger than a regular Deathclaw. So yeah, this is definitely going to be like an endgame dungeon to go to. This is a very easy dungeon to die in because there is so many Deathclaws both around it and inside of it. But if you do manage to beat through them, then you can find a Dead Brotherhood soldier that has Mercy on them. Mercy requires 100 explosives and 8 strength to wield. This one actually does have direct damage on hit. This one does 5 damage on direct hit and then 100 explosive damage. Very similar to like the grenade rifles, and this shoots the 40mm grenades, so that makes sense. This has 326 damage per second, which is really high. This has a big old 0 for the crit damage, although at least on the wiki, and I don't know if this is true or not, but Mercy has a 13.44 times crit modifier on it. It doesn't matter if you can't hit crits, and I don't know why this one would have a 13 times crit modifier on it. That is such a weird number to pick, but okay, it's got that. This one still costs 50 action points to use in VATS, so still not really the best there. 1-time spread. This one doesn't hold as many rounds in it, where the regular one holds 30, Mercy only holds 18. I'm assuming this is just because it shoots a bigger grenade, so there's less space in the magazine to actually load it up. This one still weighs 15 weight, just like the regular Grenade Machine Gun, so it's still affected by the heavyweight perk. And this one has even more item health at 500 item health, so it really doesn't break that fast for being a full auto machine gun. 40mm grenades are pretty easy to find, and there is quite a few different versions of them. A lot of vendors sell these where you have the standard 40mm grenades, which will probably be your go-to grenade. You have the pulse ones, which nerf your damage heavily but give extra damage towards robots. Incendiary ones that nerf your damage but give you fire on each of your grenade shots. And then you also have the plasma ones, which give you more damage but a smaller explosion radius. All of these are great options if you want to be throwing them in Mercy. And Mercy is a fantastic weapon overall. It is one of the best explosive weapons in the game. So Mercy is also going right up into S tier on my tier list. I really enjoy this one. The Grenade Machine Gun is fantastic too. Most of the explosive weapons are quite good in New Vegas. They do feel quite useful, at least if you're using them outdoors and where it's not going to result in you blowing yourself up. Then yeah, the explosive weapons actually feel really good. Even more so if you're playing on like a modified version of New Vegas, like what I've been, where I have 10 times the amount of enemy spawns. So that'll do it for all the explosive projectile weapons. Tell me your thoughts on Mercy and the Grenade Machine Gun down in the comments below. How do you enjoy using them? And thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.